So good morning. I'm here to brief you on the details as we know them of the officer-involved shooting that occurred on July 25th, 2023 in the 7200 block of Lemon Avenue. This is the fifth officer-involved shooting involving a Dallas police officer in 2023. On July 25th at about 11 a.m., Dallas Police Northwest Covert and Crime Response Team officers were doing surveillance on a stolen U-Haul truck parked in the 9600 block of El Centro Drive. The preliminary investigation shows that at 11:05 a.m., officers saw the suspect, 41-year-old Ryan Taylor, get into the truck and drive away. Covert officers called in marked patrol officers to conduct a felony stop of the truck. At 11:12 a.m., Taylor intentionally backed into an occupied covert vehicle, causing the airbags to deploy and pushing the vehicle into a fire hydrant. Uniformed officers attempted to stop Taylor, but he sped away on side streets and onto the Dallas North Tollway. For the next 13 minutes, Taylor refused to stop for officers, intentionally and recklessly hit 13 vehicles. Taylor exited the tollway at Wycliffe, barely being hit by a dark bus and driving until he reached the 7200 block of Lemon Avenue, hitting more vehicles in the northbound lanes, crossed the center median, and hit a tree on the west side of Lemon Avenue. At around 11:25 a.m., Taylor abandoned the truck and ran towards an open bay door of a private hangar building. Officer Keenan Craven and additional officers ran after the suspect. The investigation determined Taylor ran into the opening of a building and fired a handgun at least twice at Officer Craven. Officer Craven returned fire, striking suspect Taylor in the leg. At 11:26 a.m., Officer Craven and other officers took Taylor into custody and started medical treatment. At 11:27, Dallas Fire Rescue was requested and took Taylor to a local hospital for treatment. Taylor's handgun was recovered at the scene, which was reported stolen. No other officers fired their weapons during this incident, and no officers were injured. There were no serious injuries to those involved in crashes with Taylor during the incident. Taylor will be charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault on a public servant, along with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and evading arrest in a vehicle. If anyone's wondering, the attempted murder charge against a police officer only could be filed by the DA, so we'll be waiting for that as well. His history: as an adult, theft of property, evading arrest, fraud, use of identifiers, burglary of a habitation, unlawful possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, terrorist threats, UUMV, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, and possession of dangerous drugs. The investigation is ongoing and is being investigated by the Dallas Police Special Investigations Unit. The Dallas County District Attorney's Office was notified and responded to the scene and will conduct their own investigation. The Office of Community Police Oversight was notified and also responded to the scene. Before we play the video, as I've said before, this is never our intended outcome. We were fortunate that we did not lose an officer that day. But these are the types of calls that our brave men and women face each day. It is their reality. They put their lives on the line every time they put this uniform on to keep our city and our residents safe. This man, who had absolutely no regard for human life, recklessly hitting drivers and putting other lives in jeopardy. Then he turned and tried to kill one of my police officers. Officer Craven needed to be a warrior that day, and he answered his call. His bravery is to be commended, and the residents of the city of Dallas should be proud of Officer Craven. Each day, the men and women of this department come to work and do this job because it's their calling. Protecting and serving the people of Dallas is what my men and women choose and want to do. I'm grateful for the work of our officers on Tuesday, particularly our Northwest officers, their bravery to take the suspect into custody, and that no officers or other civilians were seriously injured. We'll now play the body-worn camera footage. I'll have some closing comments, and then we'll take questions. So before I open it up to questions, I just want to make one final comment. Oftentimes after these, I'll hear what we would like the message of the community would be. And so I would just ask, I implore, and I ask, the ask of our men and women is this. You know, this year alone, we've gotten involved into 5 officer-involved shootings. Of those 5 officer-involved shootings, each time my officers have been threatened with firearms. One of those times, an individual threatened officers with a firearm after shooting rounds in the air and ran towards a civilian vehicle. That was before this one. Every officer-involved shooting that we've been in this year, suspects have shot and tried to kill my officers. So I implore you to put that in your headlines, please. With that, I'll open up to questions. At this point, we're still looking through everything. The investigation, obviously, we're on the on the time to get you all the information. I'm sure that'll come out at some point, but we don't have the specifics yet.
It almost looked like he was trying to hit some of those cars to cause them to spin out in front of your office.
That's exactly what it looks like. That's exactly what. There was no reason, as you look at that video, for him. He had plenty of roadway to move around them. That was intentional to some way try to stop our officers' pursuit. Absolutely. I mean, you saw bravery at its finest right there. You know, an individual that goes through that much trouble to try to get away, usually negative things are behind that. And then you saw it, for him to have ran after him, take his shots, strike the suspect, you know, he did a fantastic job. You saw what we saw. I mean, that was about as close as it could possibly get. I mean, again, obviously we'll have more information when we interview folks, but that could have been real bad. I mean, when we talk about someone driving with disregard for human life, you just witnessed it right there. I mean, listen, we're still looking at this all, and obviously when we look at things, we're dissect it. But certainly what you saw there with an individual that just tried to kill a police officer, for officers to act in that fashion as quickly as it did to try to put a tourniquet on to the individual, again, I'm very proud of those officers.
Can we backtrack a little bit to what prompted this case in the first place? Do you know why he stole the U-Haul or what was in it?
Well, he's a criminal, and criminals do. I mean, if you see his history, he's a career criminal, and so the reason why he stole the U-Haul truck, I have no idea. I can, from 31 years of law enforcement, I can tell you a U-Haul truck in a residential neighborhood generally is up to crime. And so, I commend our Northwest officers. This is exactly what our city and our community and our neighborhoods want our men and women to do. And so I can't put I can't get into the head of these crooks as they're doing what they do. But certainly the stolen U-Haul, the information that our officers had, they did their duty. I don't believe he is. I don't believe he is. He actually gave false identification to our officers at the time, and so it took us a little bit to actually identify him. But again, he had multiple warrants. He had several warrants. I think 2 warrants out for his arrest as well. I think they were from around the surrounding areas. He's still in the hospital right now, in stable condition. I'm sorry.
Do you know the extent of injuries bystanders?
They were not seriously injured, from what we have right now. They're not seriously injured, by the grace of God. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, his intent was to cause some sort of wreck that would make our pursuit futile, and we're just fortunate he didn't hurt anybody else. I don't have that information as to when exactly he did, when he stole it. Obviously, U-Haul has their policies and things of that nature, so I don't know exactly, Kelly, when he stole it. CRT. They're a crime response team. They're on the crime response team, which again, as we discussed yesterday, the importance of the training and what they did. But he has been with the department since 2018. Well, we measure our pursuits with the crime involved, in addition to the safety of the community. This individual showed disregard for public safety when he committed an aggravated assault on our covert officer and the car, causing the airbags to deploy, which, as you know, takes some impact, and moving him into a fire hydrant. Obviously, as you saw, there's a lot of people that were saved, quite frankly. I mean, yeah, I hate to speculate. But I mean, I think we all can understand if Officer Craven had not gotten his hit on the individual, this individual did not want to go back to jail. And so, yes, the thought of having hostages in that hangar or in that building, certainly, we don't really think about that to the extent until you just mentioned that. But there's a lot of people that are fortunate that Officer Craven did his duty. Thank you.